Hi, I'm Ernie Manous, and this is Facebook Live. We are coming to you tonight from the Hobby Center right here in Houston. And guess what? We have two of the cast members of The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. We have Jean Gillette with us.
Hello.
Jean. And Felicity Jones-Latta.
Hi.
And they actually play the parents of the boy, the central character, Christopher. Tell me a little bit about what you thought the first time you either read the book, saw the play, or read the script. Start with you, Jean.
Oh, when I thought about the, well, I had
or
done.
we could start with you.
I had done Warhorse, which is the director Marianne Elliott directed this as well as Warhorse, and so I was in California doing a show, and I had heard that this was going to go out on tour, and I hadn't seen it or read it, and another cast member knew that I'd done this and knew that I really enjoyed working on Warhorse, so he brought me the book, and I thought the book was just absolutely amazing, and then I came back and I saw the play, and I was just really kind of amazed at how they had transferred what was on the page of the book onto the stage. You know what I mean? Because the book is so factual and like first person point of view of Christopher. You know what I mean? You don't really get that sensory overload that you get when it's on the stage. You know what I mean? And I guess I was really impressed with how they're two very separate experiences.
And Felicity?
Well, I hadn't seen the show. And I hadn't read the novel. So my first exposure to it was the script. And I was reading it and I was turning the pages and then this is a really good story. And it wasn't until I was finished that I said, oh, okay, here they're in the school. And then suddenly they're at home. And then suddenly they're at the train station. And then suddenly they're in London. And the script doesn't indicate at all how that happens. But when you're reading it, you just go along with it. So I thought, there's going to be some very crafty stage work happening here. Yeah. And I quickly YouTubed the trailer from the show and got the idea of how Marianne Elliott and her compatriots staged this thing with a lot of movement and an ensemble that creates the magic and that creates the locales where they are, so that with lights and projections and sound, and it's all very theatrical, which is what I love the most. I really love to do
what I really
work.
Love about the show itself is that the way it's presented and the speed at which it comes at you and the way the stage looks and engrosses you is very much gives you an understanding of what it must be like inside Christopher's head, which is very odd for us to understand that so clearly. And it's not just the words, it's everything comes together. And I think that's what makes theater so wonderful. And this is why I think this succeeds so well.
Well, it's such a beautiful time, especially in our country right now, to suddenly wake up and say, oh, I could look a little closer and try to understand that person a little bit better. And we don't often have the opportunity to really get behind, actually get in the head of somebody else. And it creates a lot more empathy. And I think we can do that in general more in our world these days.
Okay, this is going to be a weird question for you, Jean. Having done Warhorse, and you're working with Joey, the big puppet horse. And then you're working with an actor who's got to be Christopher, who sets his own set of challenges for how you interact with that character. Do you think there's anything you took from Warhorse that helped you be able to work in that way?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was talking about... in terms of the structure of the play, it's a lot alike in terms of a bunch of really short kind of scenes, you know what I mean, little vignettes that you get, and also the plays are a lot alike in terms of it's this hero's journey of you have this young boy who has a problem with his father, and that problem sets him off into the world. You know what I mean? You got that, and in that one it was him going off to fight in World War I. In this one, it's Christopher going on a train to London. You know what I mean? So. But I mean, they're very similar, but very, very different as well.
Okay, enough about the show. I want to know about you too. So, what do I need to know about you guys to know who you are? Oh, he's handing the mic over.
Well, I'm a mom. I left my two children, just like my character leaves her child.
In a very different way, for different reasons.
I have two beautiful children waiting for me in Connecticut and who are rooting for us and the tour and also wishing that I was home. So that sort of helps me to connect to the character for sure. And that's... That's mostly what I am as
And
a
I
mom.
think that's interesting because I don't ever think we, the audience, think about you up there on stage as outside of here. You have families, you have lives. You're making sacrifices to be here with us.
Many of us do, although it really is a young person's game and it's a single person's game. Well, it's very hard to maintain a relationship, to raise a family, and make the kind of sacrifices that you make especially to go out on a tour. We have a married couple in the cast. Amelia White and Jeffrey Wade have been married for 50 years now.
Oh, wow.
Getting close to it, and they are touring together. And Jean has a spouse, and we have families, but it's kind of unusual. I think a lot of times in this situation, they're single people because it's very hard to leave.
Yeah. Okay, Jean, your turn.
Well, I'm from Colorado originally, and my mother and my grandparents are from Waco, Texas.
Oh, really?
So, and my mother went to school in Austin at UT. So I got a kind of Texas connection there. And then my wife teaches at Brooklyn College in Crown Heights, which is where we live. And I've been, theater's basically what I've wanted to do my entire life. You know what I mean? I kind of puttered around in my 20s and stuff. I didn't have a lot of discipline. And then I went back to grad school and got my master's in my 30s, and I really buckled down. And it's kind of worked out somewhat good since then. And I'm also a huge Broncos fan.
Oh, okay.
So, there you go.
I will say, here's my shameless name dropping, and I've used this probably in almost every actor interview I do. I was talking with Patti LuPone, there's the name drop, and what she was saying is the best job in all of showbiz is working in the theater, because you know what time that curtain's going to go up and you know what time that curtain's going to go down, so you can have your life. I then wonder, though, but when you're on tour, okay, so you know when the curtain's going to go up and when it's going to go down, what do you do the rest of the time?
Yeah. And our travel days are also our days off. So we're usually traveling on our day off, and then we close the show on Sunday in a city, and then we travel on a Monday, and then we open that Tuesday night. So it's a bit of a grind, but it's a fun challenge. You know what I mean? Because you want to soak up as much of the city as you can when you get to these cities. So like you scouring TripAdvisor and Yelp and all this kind of stuff to try and find what the cool stuff is in those cities, but also you want to be good for the show that night, you know what I mean? And that's, like from the time you wake up in the morning, you're thinking about the show at night. And then you have like 2 hours after the show where you're like, oh, okay, I guess I can relax for now.
Yeah.
Until
if
you wake
you
up the
had
next
all
day.
the magic in the world, would you prefer to have the show at the start of your day and then have life after it, or do you like the structure?
I do like a matinee, and I actually do like a morning matinee. I like to
really?
roll out of bed and get to the show because you don't have all of that mess of the day to carry. You're fresh and you're tired. And good things happen when you're tired.
Talking about the mess of the day, can you tell from each other in the show how that person's day was going?
Sometimes. You can tell when someone's had a rough day or when they're looking forward to a rough night.
Looking forward to a rough night.
Sometimes that's happened. But not all the time. We're pretty good.
Yeah.
We're pretty what's the word? Consistent with one another.
Professional.
Well,
you gotta do your
okay,
job.
then as the actor yourself, do you feel different depending on what happened during the day? And when you get on stage, does that come with you, or is there a way to get rid of it so you're always in the moment? Because we're human beings.
Yeah, well, that's one of the challenges of doing a show 400 times. You know what I mean? Is that you
Just
have
saying
to.
it is scary.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. You know what I mean? You have some nights you're not going to feel it, and you gotta figure out a way to do it because people paid money to come and see it just as much as the people that paid when you weren't feeling it. So you better try and give them as much of the same performance as you can. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And sometimes actually when you're tired or when you've just had a fight with your husband on the phone or whatever, it's actually nice to bring that energy, not the specific of it. Sometimes those things you want to get rid of, but sometimes they add a little edge and they actually help or enhance it in a way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you still, and this will have to be my last question, so I have to let you guys go and go to bed or whatever, have that, looking forward to that rough night. But I have to wonder, when you are doing this as much as you have, are you still discovering new things in the character, or are you trying to just discover new ways to present it? Or neither of those?
I think both of those, and then sometimes neither of those. I think that for myself, I go through cycles, and I've already gone through a little what I'll call a trough, where I thought nothing would ever happen again. And it was a very sad time because there was nothing doing. And, you just go through the paces, and then you get a little spark of something, and things start to happen again. And sometimes it's character building, sometimes relationship building, sometimes it's just a different line reading that brings something fresh and new. Yeah. And that happens a lot, I think.
Gina, I'll let you have the last word.
Well, yeah, I mean, people always talk about how an actor's instrument is their body, you know what I mean? And I really do look at the script as like a piece of music. You want to hit the same notes every night. And you have some freedom to move around within those notes. But you can't do jazz, you know what I mean? You can't get crazy.
You throw off everyone else.
But that's why you have the director who comes in and checks you every few weeks to make sure that you're staying true to what they wanted to put up on the stage. So yeah.
Well, thank you both for taking the time to sit down
so
with
much.
us. Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime is going to be at the Hobby Center through Sunday. So if you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend it. Thanks for tuning into a Facebook Live this late at night, or if you're watching it on demand later on, well, hello. All right. Thank you. I'm Ernie Manous. Bye-bye.